probably drunk or about to get drunk, and the last time you had a drink.
Very much not the case. Sober. I've only drank water. And yeah, so I don't know why they're making these
beer, wine, whatever, you probably just drank it and forgot about it. But what you did is one of the oldest things a human being can do. It's older than writing, older than farming. It actually predates humans beings entirely. Because our relationship with alcohol...
You mean to tell me that alcohol predates all of that stuff? All of these things that we just saw? No way.
About it. But what you did is one of the oldest things a human being can do. It's older than writing, older than farming. It actually predates human beings entirely. Because our relationship with alcohol doesn't start a few thousand years ago with the invention of wine or the first brewery. It starts about 10 million years ago on a forest floor in Africa with a small primate picking up a piece of fruit
in the motherland, is it?
On the ground for too long. In 2014, a biologist at UC Berkeley named Robert Dudley published a book called The Drunken Monkey. His argument was simple. When fruit falls from a tree and sits on the ground, the natural sugars inside it start breaking down. Yeast gets in, fermentation begins, and the fruit starts producing small amounts of ethanol. And when primates ate that fruit, the ethanol inside it made them feel a little drunk. They had no idea.
So what? Did they observe that then? Were people just staring at animals to see what would happen to them if they ate it? I wonder what made them do that.
Good. So they kept coming back for more. Over millions of years, our ancestors didn't just tolerate alcohol, they evolved to look for it. So by the time ancient humans actually showed up,
the taste I didn't know that. So they were looking for it. They wanted to get a little lit on a Monday or Friday.
Yeah. It was there long before anyone figured out how to make it on purpose. The question is, when did they figure that out?
Yeah,
in
when?
2018, archaeologists were excavating a cave near Haifa, Israel. The cave is called Rakafet, and it was used by a group called the Natufians about 13,000 years ago. Inside, they found stone mortars carved directly into the bedrock. When they analyzed the residue left in those mortars, they found traces of wheat and barley that had been soaked, germinated, and left to ferment. That's beer, brewed in a cave 13,000 years ago. Now, here's what makes that finding so important. The Natufians were not farmers. They hadn't invented agriculture yet. They were still collecting wild grain by hand.
So you mean to tell me that they did that? Those people at that time, they just didn't know that they had made alcohol. Imagine if they knew, they could have been lit. I know it was old times, but I know they could have traded it if they knew the effects and stuff. I don't know. Like, you know, like swapped it out for like, hey, you give me some, I don't know, food. I'll give you some of this alcohol after a long day of hunting. And then the other trade could be like, yeah, we'll take this alcohol if you give us, I don't know, some fur, some, I don't know. I'm just walking.
They found it. But somehow, making beer was important enough that they figured that out first. Think about that. Because up until this discovery, the story goes like this. Humans settled down, started farming, built villages, and then eventually discovered fermentation and started making
Humans did a lot.
Alcohol came after civilization, but Rakafet Cave says the opposite. These people were brewing while they were still nomadic, and they aren't the only ones. About 1,000 years later, someone in southeastern Turkey built something enormous at a site called Göbekli Tepe.
Let's see this place. Ooh. What was this supposed to be, though? Well, what was it?
Massive stone pillars, some weighing over 10 tons, were arranged in careful circles and carved with images of animals. The whole structure was deliberate and complex, and it was built before farming, before pottery, before anyone in the region had a permanent home. These were still hunter-gatherers. For years, archaeologists couldn't explain why nomadic people would organize the labor needed to move 10-ton stones up a hill and carve them with precision.
Hard work. Hard work.
Motivate that. Then they found large stone vats at the site. When they tested the insides, they found chemical traces of fermented grain. People were brewing at Göbekli Tepe, not small enough for large gatherings. The current theory is that this site wasn't a home. It was a gathering place for ritual and feasting. People traveled from across the region, came together, and drank.
That's so cool how we can like experiment and like analyze stuff to figure out their uses. Because a regular person just walking there would never, like, I would never know by looking at them ruins to, like, you know, well, now I would know, like, obviously to test stuff, but, like, you just wouldn't think, you know what I mean, of looking at random, well, either random, like, anyway, looking at, like, bits of old stone and stuff, that it would be a whole site for making things and doing stuff, yeah.
Debated for decades. Why did humans start farming? An archaeobotanist named Patrick
For
McGovern,
food
the leading expert on ancient alcohol in the world,
and
has spent
convenience.
decades arguing that humans didn't start farming to make bread. They started farming to make beer. And I
Really?
couldn't agree more. He says that bread
Oh.
requires grinding, kneading, and baking. It's a complex process. Beer
Hard
is
work.
simpler. You soak grain in water, leave it alone, and
Mm-hmm.
fermentation happens by itself. And the desire to drink would have been a stronger motivator than the desire to eat grain in a slightly different form.
But they
If
need to be
he's
fed
right,
though.
then alcohol isn't something that showed up after humans. It might be the reason they settled down in the first place. By 7000 BCE, the evidence gets more precise. In a Neolithic village called Jiahu in central China, archaeologists found pottery jars containing residue from a fermented drink made of rice, honey.
They were doing this all over the world basically. They said in each corner of the world, we need to live. It's hard out here. It's not easy. Sun is shining, beaming on our heads, real hot. Having to hunt, having to gather, having to make sure everyone is clothed and fed. You want a little drink, you drink. That's what they were on. Seems like.
And hawthorn berries.
Oh,
Chemical
wine.
analysis confirmed
It's gonna be wine.
ingredients and the fermentation process. This is the oldest
Because of the fruit.
confirmed recipe for alcohol anywhere in the world. And it wasn't crude, it was a blend. Multiple ingredients, carefully chosen and combined. Whoever made this knew exactly what they were doing. From there, it only grew. By the time ancient Egypt came around, beer wasn't something people made for fun. It was woven into everything. Workers who built the pyramids were paid in beer about 4 to 5
Paid in
years.
beer.
That was their actual
Nah, I'm sorry, I
salary.
would not have accepted that. Paid in beer, really? So what's the real bread?
Coins, not grain, but beer. And it made sense, because the water from the Nile was often contaminated and unsafe to drink straight.
Oh,
But beer,
so they
because of the
needed it.
brewing process, was cleaner. So it kept people alive in a way water couldn't. Honestly, if you were working in
Wow.
the desert heat and someone gave you a choice between a bag of coins or 5 liters of cold beer, what are you picking?
Okay, I kind of hear.
Same. And on top of that, the brewing process added calories
But
and
they didn't do mix and match. What about some coins, some beer? Or is it one or
For
the
a
other?
laborer dragging limestone blocks in the desert heat, those extra calories mattered. Beer wasn't just a drink, it was lunch. And then there was the religious side. The Egyptians believed beer was created by Osiris and given to humans as a gift. It showed up in temple offerings, burial rituals, and medical prescriptions. Doctors would mix herbs into beer and prescribe it for everything from stomach problems to infections. So one single drink was
So that
doing
was
the
the
job of a
solution.
paycheck, a
That's like the
water filter,
equivalent. I don't know if you're Nigerian, you know that. It's honestly, I haven't actually used it in a long time. These days I've been using, actually, what do I use? I forgot what it's called. Get it, it's like a blue Vicks. But you know, there's something called Rob in Nigeria and in certain parts of Africa where they use it for everything. It basically looks and feels like Vaseline, but it's like Vicks. It has a smell of Vicks, very minty, very strong. And basically they think that's the solution to everything. I don't know where they got that from, but they really think it's the solution to everything. Get cold, Rob. If you have a sore arm, Rob. If you have flipping headache, Rob. Everything, Rob. And with them, it's beer here. So I wonder if it was placebo or if it actually worked, but they seem to have gotten through it.
a meal, a medicine, and a prayer, all from the same cup. So here's the full picture. 10 million years ago, your ancestors were drawn to fermented fruit because it helped them find food. 13,000 years ago, they were deliberately brewing in caves before they knew how to farm. 12,000 years ago, they were
Nah, so many
possibly
years
building
ago.
the first monuments in human
So
history
many thousands
just
of
to
years
have a
ago.
place to drink together. 9,000 years ago, they had recipes. 5,000 years ago, entire civilizations were running on it. Alcohol didn't come after we built the world we live in. There's a real possibility that it's the reason we built it at all. Every time you have
Why? Why do you think that is, Sha? Before we find out.
a drink, you're continuing something that started before your species had a name for itself. The process changed, the ingredients
Okay.
improved, the cups got fancier. But the impulse is the same one.
Yeah,
that
let's see
made
the
us.
old cups. What do the old cups look like?
Changed, the
Let's see.
ingredients
Wait, no, that's not the
improved,
cups.
The cups got
First cup is our hands. Then you got a stone bowl. Then you got a clay cup. Then you have Egyptian vessel, decorated, nice, medieval tankard. This is the old stuff, okay. And then now we have glasses. What do you think we're gonna have in the future?
fancier. But the impulse is the same one that made a small primate
An AI
a piece
cup.
of overripe fruit on a forest floor 10 million years ago. We just learned how to make it on purpose. If you want to dig deeper into any of this, all the research is linked down in the description.
Okay,